Logan Stankoven ends a lengthy goal drought. The power play comes through, and the Dallas Stars win in Toronto. We'll break it all down next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Logan Stankoven finally finds the back of the net, and not once but twice. And the power play comes through for a couple of goals of its own as the Stars take down the Maple Leafs in Toronto by a final score of 4-1. They finish off the road trip 4-1 and coming back home to the American Airlines Center. If there was a negative in the game, Roope Hintz leaves early. We'll discuss his injury and what that means for the Dallas Stars, who are starting to stack up some injuries recently, and a great shutdown period in the third period for the Dallas Stars on the road. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. A lot to get into on this one for the Dallas Stars, who got off to an absolute brutal start in the hockey game. An awful turnover between Miro and Harley leads to Matthews sniping Otter early. And then they get on the power play. They hit 3 pipes on the man advantage. So Otter should definitely kiss the red paint a few times tonight. And Toronto hit the bar probably 4 or 5 times in the game. But then Dallas really picked up their edge and their physicality in the game and started outworking Toronto, which was a sight for sore eyes. And it started, I think, with Jamie Benn in that first period, along with Matt Dumba in the second. A couple of big hits, I thought, ignited Dallas and their forecheck and just their overall physicality in the contest. Ben steamrolled Marner right at the dot, and then Dumba with a heavy collision on Max Domi in front of the Leafs bench, caught him hard and clean. And I thought that sort of symbolized the type of game Dallas had, especially after Stanky's first goal to get him off the schneid. That was huge, just going to the puddle, right? He needs to continue to go to the net. It's where he's going to get his chances. He kept pecking away, and it got through Wall, and he was able to tap it in to an empty net. And that was a massive goal for Dallas to get back to level at the time, about halfway through that first period. And then I thought the Stars really, really grew in the game and continued to get better. And the power play came through. That was ginormous. They limited the big boys for Toronto outside of Austin Matthews early in the first. And the power play was massive. And again, it was another contest where the power play had to come through. I mentioned it on yesterday's preview episode. They have to get some looks and execute on the man advantage. And they do so via Matt Duchene, which was huge, and then Mavrik Bourque in the second period. A beautiful little deflection in front. So all in all, just a really solid effort from Dallas, who gave up the first 6 shots of the game. It was 6-0 at one point early in the first. Stars ended up outshooting Toronto 12-8 in that first period. And then from there, I thought they just were hungrier, especially along the walls. Toronto has some good depth, more than they've had, I feel like, in years past, that were finishing checks on Dallas. The opening period, really, I was just thinking to myself, man, that Toronto defense and just their bottom six, so physical and hard on the puck. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish Dallas would play with that sort of mentality and approach a little bit more. And they started to show that as the game went along. They ended up getting outshot 35 to 13, but just in general, like finishing checks and things of that nature, the Stars started to show some of that. And it ended up rewarding them because they had to earn a lot of their looks, and they had to earn getting to the net, winning battles along the wall, and drawing a few penalties. And then they were able to make Toronto pay in a building where they've really struggled in years past. It wasn't an overly offensive game, which I think suits Dallas, especially on the road. And we touched on Toronto having some issues scoring lately, and Dallas, for the most part, took away the big boys at 5-on-5, only surrendered 5 high danger scoring chances, 7 in the game. The expected goals for were actually very similar in all situations. 2.27 for Dallas, 2.26 for the Maple Leafs. So not much different. It was just Dallas capitalized on their power play opportunities. And you look at the goals again, Bourque's right at the puddle, Duchene right at the puddle, Stanky right at the puddle. And then the turnaround bid from Duchene that went off Stankoven to get him his second goal of the contest. Boy, that was just a massive goal for him. You could see he was elated, and all the boys too were just so pumped for him to get in on the score sheet. And they were down to 10 forwards in the game for a large chunk of it. Roope left early in the first. We'll get to him after, I think, just a couple of minutes. And then Matej Blumel was on the bench in the third, but he did leave in the second. He ended up only with, I believe, just over 4 minutes on the night. He played 4:18 in the game. So they had to rely on some of their young and grizzled vets to get this job done. And it could be difficult at the end of a long road trip. It's game 5, and you're holding on to a 1-goal lead heading into the third. And Dallas was able to put it away because you get a power play goal, and you just outworked Toronto really in the final half of the hockey game. Otter was shaky at first. I thought it was going to be a long night. After the 3 pipes early, I was like, this cannot happen. Not tonight. And Dallas pushed back, and they sort of returned the medicine that the Leafs were giving them in the opening period. And, Dallas had to juggle up the lines because of the injuries. They had Stankoven with Duchene and Ben at one point, and that trio ended up with 4 scoring chances at 5-on-5, 7 shots for that line alone. They seem to really drive Dallas forward. Robertson, again, thought he played a really, really strong game. He picked up Archie didn't pick up a point in the game. No, he did. He picked up an assist on Stankoven's goal, but he's playing some of his best hockey of his life right now. And it's not just the point production, just overall a forecheck, the physicality in his game. I think he's doing so well at putting himself into some of those greasy areas along the wall and digging pucks free. And Dallas got rewarded tonight for their hard work because they drew penalties by moving their feet, making things happen. And I thought they played with a bit of an edge that they had to get to in Toronto, because it's been a house of horrors lately, and you go down early and who knows, it could snowball. But Otter was pretty strong the rest of the way. He's won 6 in a row. And it's a massive, massive win for Dallas on the road. And they've had a few of these here over the last few weeks in general. Just huge, huge wins for the confidence, starting to find a rhythm. And Daryl Ray touched on it a bit at the end. And we discussed this just a few days ago on one of the episodes here. Like, Dallas can be interesting and a really, really tough team to beat the rest of the way. Now that players like Mavrik Bourque are starting to catch up. And if Stankoven's going to score, right, he needs to score. He plays a game where he can be successful and help others, but he wants to score goals. That's what the Stars need him to do. And with this nice combination of talent that can score. It's young, it's cheap, and you have your big guys up front like Duchene who continue to just dominate and are scoring big time goals for you, like at massive junctures of hockey games. And Ben, I mean, some of the best hockey we've seen from Jamie Benn in a 2-week stretch in a few years. And I know he's had some decent point production years the last few seasons, but just his overall game, it's not just the offense, it's what he's doing, leading by example with his physicality. And I think that is the difference, or could be the difference from Dallas, if they can play that way more often, especially come playoff time. And they're not going to overly hit you out of the ballpark, right? That's not their game, but they have to have the teeter across the line where it's a little you're a little over the line on some of your play and some of your physicality, just to remind the side like, hey, we're going to be here, and you're going to have to match this if you want to beat us tonight. And I thought there was a little bit in that, and they controlled it. What a shutdown third period. And gosh, so nice to see the power play score twice. Man, they've needed that like a shot in the arm all season long, and to do it on this night where you can look forward to getting home and sleeping in your own bed here at 2:00, whatever, when they get back into town, and they do it, and they finish it off like just such a strong win for Dallas after what was a pretty brutal start for the most part. They didn't make it easy on themselves at the beginning, but I thought a lot of strong nights from a different cast of characters. Obviously, Stanky with a 3-point night, Duchene with a 3-point night. The beat goes on for him, and outside of the poor turnover early, 4 and 55 were really good for Dallas. And Stankoven had the highest game score on the night, really in the NHL, 4.94 for him. Duchene was right behind him. And the pairing Labushkin and Heiskanen were brilliant. Just a strong 4-line, 3-pair defensive game for Pete DeBoer in the boys. And you get a couple of guys that needed to score on the score sheet. You end a lengthy drought. You end the drought in Toronto. Kabang took the life out of the Leafs, and they got rewarded with a couple of boos on their way off. So credit for Dallas to take care of business in Toronto. Let's segue into Roope Hintz, another injury to add to the list. He leaves early in the first, and Dallas again is going to have to find some others to fill his void if he's potentially out here long term. We'll discuss that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Gametime. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Some of your favorite memories in your life are going to Dallas Stars games, going to Cowboys games, going to a concert of an artist you always wanted to see. And Gametime makes it so much easier for you to get tickets to those types of events with a new feature called Gametime Picks. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You get to see the view from your seat before you buy it. So you know exactly what to expect when you get there, and you don't have to worry about being behind a block, being behind a wall, being behind a bar, right? You name it. We've all been to arenas sometimes. You're like, I wouldn't have bought those seats if I knew that. And that's a great thing about Gametime. It takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets, and you can download the Gametime app, and you can use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. How about that? Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED, own NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Oh, what time is it? It's game time. So the Dallas Stars take care of business in Toronto with a 4-1 win, and the Stars were delivered tough news early in the hockey game after already being down 1-0 that Roope Hintz was questionable to return with an upper body injury. He played 2 minutes and 27 seconds on the night before he left in the game, and he had a few rough shifts. He got knocked down by Matthews, and then as he was trying to contort his body to stay on the side, he kind of fell awkwardly. Just a few awkward collisions and awkward falls for Hintz, and those scare me more than some of the huge collisions or some of the big hits put on him, just because on a few of them there wasn't much he could have done. He was just trying to contort his body in some weird ways, and it was listed as an upper body injury. Who knows? Maybe we'll get an update here in a few moments. I'll keep an eye on X to see if Pete DeBoer has an update. I would assume we do not have an answer here tonight. We'll know more when they get back in Dallas. But it brings the question, what does Dallas do if Roope Hintz is out long term? It's a fantastic question. Well, Mavrik Bourque, pull up your bootstraps. You're going to have to be this number 2 center for Dallas. And fortunately, he's growing in confidence and looks like he could be a pretty decent top 6 center iceman the way he's going right now. Without Roope, the load comes a bit heavier, and they're going to need him to be as productive as he can be for whatever length of time he could be out. You have Justin Ritskovian. You can add down in Texas. Obviously, Blue Mel, Huru can give you some minutes and fill in, but you're asking a lot out of them to try to replace his offense, which you're just not going to be able to do. It's going to have to be by committee. He's your leading goal scorer, and Roope is an elite 2-way center iceman. You're not going to replace that type of player. But as we've said in years past, this is Roope Hintz to some degree. He's going to miss some time. That's just the nature of Roope. He's missed time in the regular season. He's missed time in the postseason. And he's such a key player for Dallas as well that when he's out, it's a huge, huge loss. He's one of those players too where even if he's not scoring and he's out of the lineup, you miss him dearly. So Mavrik Bourque is going to have to step up if he's out long term. I don't foresee that being the case. If he was questionable, if they said doubtful, I'd feel worse about it. I'm trying to read between the lines. Obviously, I don't have an answer. Maybe just precautionary, and it could be a Labushkin thing where he's back out here against Montreal in a few days. But I will say, with the way Dallas is sort of going right now, and they're just leaning on some of their depth, and their top 2 lines have been really, really big for them. And if need be, Stanky can move up, right? Johnston can fill a void on the top line along with Robo and Dodonov. If he needs to rest, if he needs to get healthy, do it now in January. Do it now and get it over with so he can be 100% healthy. He's too important to the Dallas Stars. Lean on the depth. That's really the answer for Dallas. And you hope you don't lose a massive part of your offense. You are to some degree. Look, has 20 goals on the year. Like you're going to miss it. But there are some others that maybe with Stanky get on the board tonight, the floodgates start to open for him. Bourque continues to get his looks, night in and night out. Like you're going to have to rely on some of those guys. And you look at tonight, like Stankoven on the sheet tonight, 13 shots for, only 5 against, and he was on the ice for 3 goals. Like that's massive stuff. Mavrik Bourque, played under 12 minutes, but look at his Corsi for percentage, 80%. Like he had the puck. He had it on his stick. He was making things happen. So if he is out, like welcome to the big leagues, Bourque, where we thought he was sort of going to kind of start. He was really kind of filled in as that third line center, but Dutchy's going to be your number one. You don't have to worry about him. We know what he brings to the table. The unknown is Bourque. And here you go. This is your chance to really prove to Pete DeBoer, prove to the Stars that you can be a top 6 center iceman for the future. I really think that's sort of the I guess non-verbal circumstance of this possibly. And again, I'm thinking if Roope's out, I'm just sort of answering that question. Of course, you have Johnson too that can play down the middle if they want him to. So it could be Duchene. You could leave him with Stanky and Ben. I wouldn't be surprised if Johnson plays with Robo and Dodonov. I think we've seen that at points too. So you still feel pretty good about your top 6. And then Bourque, your third line center. Have him with Steele and Beck, right? Of some degree, a mix, Blackwell, right? And then your fourth line just kind of a hodgepodge with maybe Blumel, whoever you bring up. So, unfortunately, if he is out for a bit, then Marchment. Let's see Marchment, Seguin, and Roope would be like 50 something goals this season. Cause okay. Rope's got 19, Marchment has 12. So that's 31 if my math serves me correctly. And then Seguin had 9. So yeah, about 40 goals out of 3 guys. That'll be hard to make up for, but hopefully it's not a long time is the real hope. Let's see if we have an update. Okay, nothing much. Nothing. No, okay, no Hintz stuff yet. Here's a great nugget from Robert Tiffin. I love this. Logan Stankoven just said on the post-game show, Pavelski called him this morning just to check in. Seriously, Stars fans, this is not a coincidence. I made this correlation a few weeks ago. Maybe some of you thought I was out to lunch. I don't think it was a coincidence. Stars went on a 7-game win streak, whatever it was, after they saw Joe Pavelski in Chicago. And then Joe calls Stanky, and he's got a 3.9. Get this guy in the building the rest of the year. Joel Pavelski better be in the press box or on the bench for the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. Jim Nill, pay him whatever he wants. Get him on the bench. Sign him to a 10-day. Oh, he's making things happen even when he's not even hitting the cap. Oh, that's awesome. Had to share that. Love it. But yes, Roope Hintz was questionable to return with an upper body injury. We're gonna know more here in the next few days. So that's the unfortunate part of a 4-1 victory. Let's get into a positive again to close this one out. What a third period from Dallas, and a list of strong periods the Stars have had on this road trip. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire somebody yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed sponsor jobs. Put your posts at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. You're so busy, you don't have time to search through thousands of candidates. And if you're looking for a job, Indeed is a great way to find those job listings. I found my job via Indeed too. I found it on a couple of different websites and I applied on all of them. Get your name out there. But if you're a business and you want someone like me to find your job post, use Indeed. It makes it so much easier to find the candidates that you want, the resumes that match your job qualifications. You can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com, use our code LOCKEDON. Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms apply and conditions. Hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is all you need. I love when hockey teams go into third periods leading by a goal and completely shut down the opponents in the final 20 minutes. Nothing gets my jollies off more than that. I'll be honest. And what Dallas did in the third period against Toronto is so satisfying, because the Stars have not had a ton of issues when leading after two, but they've had their problems this season, namely with scoring insurance tallies. And they had a power play that carried over into the third period. They had about a minute 45. So basically the full complement. And it was going pretty wonky the first minute, but they get in and they get a shot, or they get it to the front of the net. And I've got the Duchene goal is, ew is all I have to describe that. Between the legs, past Wool, like, thanks for coming, and kind of shut the door, like, lights out, Toronto. Enjoy the loss tonight. I'll be honest, the Maple Leafs annoy me to some degree, and I know that's just a really cop-out thing to say and sort of cliche, but Marner is so soft. So soft. I'm sorry, I had to get that off my chest. I'm watching and they're moaning in the building because of Marner getting touched. Like, so soft. Anyway, sorry, that's my gripe. Let's get back to the Stars. What a way to just take the life out of the Leafs. I thought it was just brilliant stuff. They got outshot in the third period 9-3, but Toronto didn't have much. They had 3 high danger chances in the third period, it says here. But like, made Otter's life extremely easy. And when you score a power play goal early, and then you follow that up just a few minutes later with another, it just sucks all the life out of your opponents. And it just puts a cherry on top of the entire road trip. You look at the 4 wins they had, and against Ottawa, they struggled, right? They just struggled to have life in that one, coming off a back-to-back. But Montreal, right, having to sort of grind out that one to get it to overtime. You were down by 1, and you come back, you win that in a shootout. Philly, another strong third period to close that one out against the Flyers, although you did have a 3-0 lead heading into the period. But again, New York to come from behind in that one when you're trailing by 3 early, and to get that game to overtime. You didn't lead in the entire game. Like, they have more wins, I feel like, trailing in the first in this 5-game road trip than they had in the entire first 40 something games of the season, like 37. There's just been a different mentality with the Stars here, and it was such a satisfying way to close it out in a third period against a team. I mean, by no stretch are you out of it. Like, it's a PK that's like one of the best in the NHL. Toronto was third coming in to this game in penalty kill percentage, and Dallas scored twice on the road. And of course, the power play away from the AC has been much better than it has been away. And you do it in that building. And it's just, and you do it in a way that you haven't done it a ton this season, with Stanky getting on the board a couple of times. Like, I'll tell you, like, Dallas is giving me a lot of hope. And maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again, but I like the way Dallas is playing lately, Stars fans. I don't know about you, but I can work with this. I can work with this. That's for sure. And they need some help. They're going to need some help at the deadline. But the injuries are sort of going through, and Marchment skating was the latest update. But when you get the full complement back, it's like you have a pretty deep team. Minus and like just take away the issues early in the season. Like if we just take what we've seen the last 2 weeks, like like this is a contender to some degree. I wouldn't put them in the Stanley Cup yet, but I feel pretty good about their chances to get back to a Western Conference final. I don't think they're as good as a Florida, right? I don't think they're that standard. But I take their chances to get against Winnipeg. I want to put them as a Vegas. If it's one team I don't want to see, it's the Vegas Golden Knights. We haven't really touched on them a lot. I don't think Dallas has even played them yet, have they? Maybe they have. But that team again, I want no part of Vegas. I'll take the Stars playing the way they are, and if you get their full complement against a lot of teams in the West, I really would. LA, Colorado, like they're just a playoff team. We like the playoff teams. Winnipeg, I mean, I have to give them a shot. Like, yeah, Hellbuck's fantastic. And Winnipeg's probably Winnipeg and Vegas are the two that, I think could be a 7-game series, sort of a flip-flop. But Minnesota, yeah. Edmonton to some degree. I know they got McDavid, but LA, Colorado, yeah. I mean, like, Dallas is in a good spot. I mean, they're 5th in the NHL. They're 5th. They got 57 points, which is pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. And now just a point behind Minnesota with a game in hand. Like, this is a nice little run we're getting from the fellas. So there's a lot to work with here with the Stars. And third periods, like we saw against the Maple Leafs, are signs of good teams and teams that can win the postseason. Like, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to shut down games on home ice, on the road. Can your power play score when you need it, when you're trailing or when you're down by 1 and you need the insurance tally? And Dallas did it against a good team. And yes, it's a Tuesday night in Toronto, so are we taking too much stock? Yeah, we are. But those are baby steps that Dallas needs, and we haven't had a ton of that this season. So you take it and you run with it. And they scored twice. So just overall fantastic night, and I wanted this one a week ago. Toronto's a house of horrors. Really anything above the border has been a bit of a challenge. It's well documented in Ottawa. What a great road trip. You take 4 or 5, 8 out of 10 points. Like, hell yeah. Enjoy the plane ride back, boys. Let's try to keep it going against Montreal on Thursday. That's all I have on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars. We got through a lot today, a lot to get into, and there's still some question marks. Keep an eye out on Roope. You can follow me, Joy the Jet 19 on the X thing. Follow Locked On Stars on X as well. It's continuing to pop up those numbers. I'm constantly just saying crap on there and retweeting stuff. So any of the latest news with Dallas is usually on there. Please drop a like, drop a comment. You guys have been awesome. Leave a subscribe, hit the notification bell, never miss an episode. It's starting to heat up. Playoff pushes on. 4 Nations face-off in a month. Like, it's a good time to be a hockey fan, ladies and gentlemen. Good time. Appreciate all the new subscribers, too, for joining us here. Jump on the bandwagon. It's going to be an absolute blast the rest of the way. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, Stars fans. And I hope to see you tomorrow on another edition. And we're going to have some fun as we always do. Have a great night. Enjoy the day, morning, wherever you may be. And we'll see you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.